Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Finance and asks, does he stand by his statement that, quote, our tax cuts have been good for economic growth and fair for New Zealanders?
The Honourable Bill English.
Yes, Mr Speaker. The tax cuts were part of a fiscally neutral package which was designed to tilt the incentives in this economy away from excessive housing speculation and excessive consumption, both funded by excessive debt, and create more incentive for savings, investment, exports and new jobs. And we are satisfied that the package we put together, when you take into account the increases in GST and the decreases in income taxes, are fair for New Zealanders and in the long run will be good for economic growth.
Metiria Turei.
Will the Minister consider extending Working for Families tax credits to families who are reliant on benefits as a way of both stimulating the economy and promoting fairness, and if not, why not?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, as the member will know, the previous government extended Working for Families considerably and introduced a mechanism that ensured that people with children who went from benefits into work were better off for being in work. By and large, the government has left that mechanism in place and hasn't seen a strong case for making significant changes to it.
Metiria Turei.
Is the Minister aware of the evidence from the US Congressional Budget Office that putting more money in the back pockets of beneficiaries has the biggest stimulus effect on the economy because low-income households spend all the money they get on essentials?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, yes, I am aware of that evidence, and the government has worked to strike a balance between the need to protect New Zealanders as much as possible from the sharp edges of recession, and in the case of beneficiaries, we have made sure there's been adjustments to benefits regardless of the economic situation, including compensation for GST increases. So protect people as much as we can. On the other hand, to make sure we don't end up in the situation of a country like Ireland where we lose control of our economic destiny because we have not lived within our means. So the government has stimulated the economy in the recession, but now has a path back to surplus.
Metiria Turei.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Does the Minister agree that extending Working for Families tax credits, as proposed in the Green Party's Mind the Gap plan, would inject $300 million into the economy and give 130,000 low-income families a much-needed income boost?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, I wouldn't dispute the facts with the member. I'm sure she's done her research. As I've said, though, we have tried to strike a balance between supporting people through the recession, but on the other hand, showing a path back to surplus. There's any amount of spending we could do right now, but we would simply have to pay it back later, and on any significant scale, it would pose a risk to New Zealand's economic future.
Nikki Kay.
Mr Speaker, supplementary question to the Minister. Has he seen any reports on economic support for middle-income New Zealanders?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, I have seen some reports. One was a speech entitled "The Squeezed Middle." Another was a statement which says, "My aim is to show our party is on the side of the squeezed middle." The first one was a speech title for Phil Goff. The second one was a statement made about 9 weeks before by Ed Miliband in the UK, and I don't think it was an accident they used the same language.
The Honourable David Cunliffe.
Mr Speaker, to the Minister of Finance, does he stand by his statement made in public session to the Finance and Expenditure Committee on 27 October 2010, when he said in relation to a question around fiscally irresponsible tax cuts, quote, "Despite the recession, we implemented the first tranche of that because we said we would," and can he confirm that he admitted to the FEC that, quote, "This has had a $1.5 billion impact on tax revenue"?
The Honourable Bill English.
Well, Mr Speaker, it's a matter of fact that National promised a series of tax cuts in the 2008 election. We implemented the first tranche of those and we cancelled the next two because between announcing the package and the implementation date, Lehman Brothers crashed, the world went into a global financial crisis. So we chopped off the last two tranches of that tax cut.
Point of order, the Honourable David Cunliffe.
Respectfully, Mr Speaker, I don't believe the Minister's addressed the essence of that question. The question was not did he pass $1.5 billion of tax cuts, but did he do so knowing that that would be irresponsible because of the recession? And I don't believe he's answered that point.
I don't think, though, the member can expect the Minister to give exactly the answer he might want, because the member asked him about the issue of those tax cuts specifically, and the Minister replied why the government had implemented the first tranche and why it hadn't implemented the rest. And I think, the member does have further supplementaries if he wishes to pursue the matter, but Metiria Turei, supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Does the Minister not agree that every child should have the essentials this Christmas, regardless of whether their parent relies on a benefit or not?
The Honourable Bill English.
Mr Speaker, yes, that would be desirable. And one of the reasons we set up the Welfare Working Group is because there is a strong correlation between child poverty and people who are long-term on benefit. And that is why I hope the Green Party will give full consideration to the recommendations of that working group when they come forward early in the new year, because we all have an interest in ensuring that the large proportion of New Zealand children who are raised in child poverty can have more hope than a lifetime of dependency.
Point of order. Point of order, sir.
Point of order, Metiria Turei.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I seek leave to table two documents. The first is a paper from the US Congressional Budget Office on policies for increasing economic growth, dated January 2010, showing that increasing aid to the unemployed has an impact on GDP.
Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is no objection.
Second document, seek leave to table a White House paper on the framework agreement on middle-class tax cuts and unemployment insurance, showing low-income families are most likely to spend additional money they receive creating jobs and helping growth, dated 7 December 2010.
Leave is sought to table that document. Is there any objection? There is no objection. Question number 4, the Honourable Annette King.